Hi everyone, I think we are now live at our Think Student Online 2021 event. Thank you very much for joining us and a big warm welcome. This is the second time we've organised our flagship event for student marketers, universities and colleges online. And it's the first time we've created a virtual event aimed at our American audience. Although I'm very happy to say we have over 500 attendees from 300 different institutions and 3 continents. So it's great to have you all here, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Simpson. I'm the Chief Growth Officer from NetNatives and Akiro, and it is my honour to be introducing the event and making some of these openings. I'll be introducing our speakers, making some jokes here and there, whether they're good or bad or not, it's really up to you, and replying to various messages on Twitter throughout the day. Just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. We hope you find the platform easy to use. On the left of the screen, you can view the agenda, the main stage, the breakout rooms, and the on-demand sessions. You can use the breakout rooms to speak to others in your field and get discussions going in between sessions. The on-demand sessions will be available for a week, so feel free to dip into these at your leisure. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have the Q&A section, where you can ask the panelists questions and seek any technical support. Please ask as many questions as you wish throughout the day, and in the Meet the Speaker session at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 7:30 p.m. UK time, we'll be answering these. You can log in and out as many times as you want during the day, and please remember to join in on the socials using the hashtag ThinkStudentLive. We'll be live tweeting throughout the day, so please do respond, engage, and connect with colleagues across the sector. Now, I'm going to start just by giving a bit of a background on why we created this event and what the point of it is. Now, student marketing has faced seismic changes from the pandemic, the unignorable shift to digital first, international borders closing, new political eras, and the student demographic morphing into something that's even more complex and intricate. And unless marketers are prepared and equipped to keep up, there's a real danger of us being left behind. So we really created this event to explore the future of students and the way they think. How to make noise that students want to hear, stand apart from the competitive crowd, and convey why you're better than your competitors. We'll cover improving advertising performance, boosting conversions and ROI, and how to be disruptive and creative in equal measure in this brave new world. So today, strategic leaders from our sector come together to learn about all things students. And at NetNatives, we have been pioneering student marketing solutions for the past 14 years. We've gained a huge amount of insights into where the sector challenges are, both challenges you face with your in-house setup and the challenges in recruiting students from all over the world. Our event used to just focus on the platforms. So we had Google, Facebook, Instagram, even Tinder, talk through how their platforms are developing to reach and attract more students. But at our first event in 2016, we really quickly realized that this was not nearly strategic enough for our audience. Our first event of this kind was on Friday the 24th of June in 2016 in London. It was my first time hosting the event. I was really excited to hear what Google had to say about their new advert types that we could use to target students. However, something else happened on the 24th of June. Most of us have blocked it out of our memories and our psyche. It was the day the Brexit result was announced in the UK. I had a whole speech planned about how bright the future of the country and that student marketing would be, with a unified European Union and countless opportunities for students living in the EU. And it was about 2 hours before the event is when the result was announced. So we had to completely flip the script. 5 years ago, in light of the referendum result, I had no idea what to say in my opening speech. And the platforms and their advert types and their keywords all of a sudden didn't really carry much importance in the mindset of the marketers. Who would have thought that 5 years later, we would be in a global pandemic with countries still going in and out of lockdown despite growing vaccination rates? If there's one thing I've learned when doing any type of opening remarks or hosting an event, especially in this sector, is you can never control all the factors that are going to impact education. Education is integral to so many parts of society, and therefore so many parts of society impact education. And so whilst we don't have a crystal ball today to tell us all about the future, we do hold insights, data, and opinions from students through our own research and other research points to help inform the direction that you go in. So each event, we normally highlight the most recent trends in student opinions and really discuss why they may exist. And why do we do this? Well, I think it's safe to say we're all guilty of basing decisions on what we think. Many institutions decide to run with a specific campaign or target a range of markets because of what they think. But building a strategy based on student insights and desires now is so important. And we need to be really engaging with prospective students without the prism of your brand or the bias of your own experience. Basically, how do we all become more market orientated rather than decide what we do based on our own thoughts? So you may think that your students like you because of your ranking. You might think, that all of your students are using Instagram every day. Last year we discovered that 16 to 18-year-olds are using WhatsApp and Facebook less because it's what their parents use. It gives me nervous anxiety just to think about that. And also makes me feel kind of old because I still use Facebook and WhatsApp more than anything. We also found they trust Messenger and Snapchat more than giving away their phone number. Students are really reluctant, we found last year, to actually give away their phone number, both to companies and universities. So rather than today having the platforms talk at you, we are embracing market orientation. So please think of Think Student as a mindset, moving you away from what you think and taking note of all the actual insights that you can use back at your institution. You can also see more about Think Student in our newsletter, which you can sign up on our website, and our annual conferences and regional roadshows that we do around the country. These contain a summary of all the insights we discovered throughout the year, helping each of us become more student specialists. So, now that I've given you the background on the event, let's talk about 2020. Now, 2020 has been stressful around the world. I think that's fair to say. And we've all had to learn how to adapt. Now, pre-COVID, we have built our institutions around a very different mindset. Our libraries were predominantly built for students all cramming into a small space to read. Our athletics divisions were built for large basketball games in open courts. And our student services and support teams were built to support students with their struggles on campus. But the world has changed. What we care about, what we see, what we experience is all different. I myself have worked in a university, and I know how long it can take for institutions to catch up, even in normal pace terms. At Net Natives, we've seen some institutions thrive. They've shown how adaptable they are to push forward change at their institutions quickly to ensure students are supported, particularly in light of COVID. But some have not. Some of us here today struggle with very bureaucratic institutions. We have 1 million committees to get anything signed off. And quite often with these institutions, data, insights, and research are the only way we can really push through. And that is why we thought we'd start off this event by just consolidating 6 of the most interesting statistics that we have found in 2020 to help create and drive forward change for the benefit of your students. It was meant to be 5 statistics that, why not have 6? There's an extra one for you to write down. So I'm going to start with statistic number 1. And these are just some quick fire statistics for you with a little bit of an explanation. Every time I go to an event, I always find that everyone just writes down statistics. That's the main thing that they like to take back to their institutions. So to begin with, only 15% of students say they feel represented by general advertising, and nearly a quarter don't feel represented by advertising specifically aimed at students. So the student mindset and the way in which they're responding to advertising specifically to them is something that they're not really relating to. This finding was from our own research into student perceptions of representation. And we really found, there's really an ethos that you can't be what you can't see. I really love that saying. Students are becoming more diverse, but are the marketing teams who are responsible for reaching these students, increasing their knowledge on diversity and applying these to their own initiatives? We've really seen more and more institutions involve their diverse student bodies in the consultancy and sign-off on their content, really ensuring it's reaching and relating to the different groups they aim to reach. Clearly, if students don't feel represented in the advertising, why are they going to respond to it? And I think that's becoming more prominent now in wider society. But it does actually go deeper than this. And I think it's really hard in marketing, admissions, any kind of service-based function in a university to actually influence the organization itself, So it's one thing to change our marketing. What if our institution isn't diverse? What if our institution doesn't have effective student representation on its different committees? And we found that students don't actually feel that they're represented by the education institution themselves. That is when I think the presence of diverse student groups on committees and panels really gets pulled into question. So how visible is your students' union or your student association? How bought in are your existing students with the student body? And are you as an institution empowering your student union, your student association to influence and actually lead the decision the institution takes when it comes to the well-being and education of your students? Now, obviously, students can't make every decision, and we hire a lot of fantastic staff across the country to run our universities. But it goes back to that whole market orientation point again. How can you ensure that the institution and the decisions you're making is actually right and not just based on what you think? We talk a lot about students being partners in their education experience, and student associations have a huge part to play in that. They're really key in ensuring your students feel the institution represents them. So that's a little bit on how represented your students feel, and that's some of the findings we found this year. But when we go into not just representation, how students are actually feeling, that's where the findings, I think, from the last year have really shifted. So we found that 1 in 4 18 to 20-year-olds have contemplated suicide over the past year, and a quarter of this same group increased substance abuse during the pandemic. So after 9 months of pandemic-created isolation, anxiety, health worries, financial instability, mental health challenges, these challenges among college students have gone from bad to worse. So the need for student crisis support is greater than ever. There's food and housing insecurity, unemployment, fearful of getting sick or making another one sick. These are all stressors that have come together to really create a storm of mental health overload. Quite often, institutions are getting fewer resources and greater needs of students. And we need to ensure, as marketers, as admission staff, that we're not just attracting students to our institution, but we have the right support for them, both online and on campus, to ensure that they're actually being looked after and that they retain. And I think so often in marketing and admissions, our targets are to get students in through the door, and it's a different team's responsibility to do retention and nurture. But actually, we need to ensure that we are influencing those groups to develop the right support services and actually talk about those in our marketing. These are big challenges that are facing students. And by not talking about it, we can actually create more anxiety from our prospective students. So our next key finding, we actually found that only 1 in 5 adult learners think additional learning is worth the cost, and only 1 in 4 adult learners believe additional education will make them attractive job applicants, right? So historically, during times of economic downturn or recession, workers with a college degree typically fare better than their degreeless counterparts. Yet during COVID-19, the perceived importance of a college degree was actually turned on its head. Since the pandemic began, adult learners are opting for quicker, less expensive non-degree credentials. Of those, we surveyed 39%, and skills training 24% over the traditional bachelor's degree, which was 11%. So with this perception of adult learning, with this perception on the degree of a bachelor's versus non-degree or skills training, how are institutions going to respond to that? Do they offer a diverse enough portfolio of programs to appeal to the market? I'm sure many of us here are told to promote a program or promote a college or a school of courses that are just not going to get the student volume that's needed because the market doesn't need it. Actually, we find that's where institutions spend most of their money, is pushing these types of programs. So we've actually really seen this year the sector, many institutions investing in portfolio reviews and market research into where the program demand is. And we've worked with a lot of clients and partners on those types of initiatives to make sure that it is actually fit for the marketplace. Without that, we run the risk of spending loads of money on programs that aren't going to stick. And with a market that's now questioning the value of bachelors more and more, I think this trend is going to continue to happen, and your institution does not want to be left behind. I think this is the insight number 5, I'm going to say. I think I've lost track of my insights. So another key trend from this year that has been found is that students are becoming quite wary of advertising. 6 in 10 students have installed ad blocking software. Effective college marketing identifies the needs of a student and delivers a message at the right time, in the right place, on the platforms they're using. So when they've got ad blocking software on there, they're clearly not going to be as easily swayed by interruption marketing or marketing in general. 56% of Gen Z will purposefully not click on ads while browsing websites. They'll Google you and click somewhere else. They don't want to click on the ad. They almost don't want to reinforce your advertising in a way. So it's still working. They just don't want to tell you it's working. And again, 6 in 10 have actually gone as far to install ad blocking tech. So considering the college students' wariness of marketing is really vital to delivering a brand message that will not be simply ignored on arrival. And when looking at the marketing strategy, advertising is one channel, but organic events, students actually speaking with other students through live chat functionalities, referral platforms, that type of activity is going to become more and more important. And finally, I found this one really interesting. We get so many clients say to us, like, email is dead. We're done with email. But actually, we found that 3 in 4 high school students ranked email as they're communicating with admissions teams, okay? And we have really seen admissions teams diversifying their processes. They've introduced call centers, live chat functionality, direct mail, events, etc. But we've really found that institutions are relying a bit too heavily on things like their call center. How often do you pick up the phone from an unknown number? How comfortable are you giving away your mobile number on a form? If that is part of most admissions processes, but what often happens is if the student doesn't pick up the phone, the institution thinks they're a bad lead. And they're like, no, bad lead, they didn't pick up the phone. Actually, that lead had the right qualifications, the right level of experience. They've written a whole piece in the form on why they're right for the course. They just don't want to talk to you on the phone. So personalization, automation, omni-channel comms. If you've just got drip campaigns with a few emails going off, you're not really going to help convert those students. And when we go back to those previous findings around mental health support, and maybe the values of the institution and feeling represented at the institution, are you using that messaging in your email marketing campaigns? Because from looking through the findings of what we have here, that would be a really effective way of speaking to students about something they care about in a channel that you might think is going, but actually it's incredibly important. So this year's virtual lineup is pretty insightful and interesting. I'm sure you will agree. And I hope you're ready to cram your brains full of inspiration and enjoy a shared learning and networking experience. So first up was what I just did, but top 6 trends rather than top 5 trends. Then we have an open discussion presented by the ever experienced and passionate internationalist Charlene Allen from the IC Cafe on managing critical relationships and how marketers can get them on board. A topic I think everyone who works in student marketing would recognize as a challenge. In fact, I sometimes feel like 75 to 80% of our job is just convincing others to invest in marketing and believe in marketing, especially with the higher ups brought into the campaigns and messaging. So the panel is going to discuss the best way to approach this and talk in a language they'll listen to and achieve maximum impact. Next up after that is a really exciting campaign showcase from our friends at NYU Stern School of Business and their award-worthy executive MBA postgraduate campaign, Open to Excellence. In this session, we will unpick what it means to showcase the human side of business and how to harness that to connect with their student audience. Then we have the awesome, always awesome, Melissa Palesci from The Pie, who'll be hosting a discussion on student marketing in a post-COVID world. Our panel of experts look to the horizon of student marketing and discuss what elements are staying the same and what are set for huge evolutions post-COVID-19. And our final live session will be hosted by our very own head of content and award-nominated creative, I'm sure he'll love that I said that, Jem Topcam, on communicating your value proposition. In a fiercely competitive market, the only way to connect with prospective students is to stand out. So in this session, Jem will talk through how to effectively communicate what makes you different and how to articulate this to the ever complex student audience. Now, during the event and for a limited time after, we have exclusive on-demand content for Think Student attendees. We've put together a series of pre-recorded sessions from some of the leading experts in student marketing. The sessions explore the biggest themes of 2021, including emerging digital trends and transitions, how data can drive your strategy, community colleges top tips, a TikTok masterclass, and if anybody used I Love TikTok, it's my new obsession. I spend like an hour and a half on it a day, so I will definitely be reading through that. Creativity and disruption in 2021, plus much more. It's a treasure trove you don't want to miss. And I just want to say a huge final thank you to all of our net natives and our partners who have helped contribute towards the content today. So now I'm going to read through loads of names, including Charlene Allen from the IC Global, Melissa Palesci from The Pie, Heather McDaniel from NYU Stern Business School, Rachel Martin from Unibuddy, Alistair Hayes and Callie Hilker from Vermont College of Fine Arts, and of course, the Net Natives team, Joe Gaultier, Gus Bolognesi, Matt Pagano, Nick Wilmer, Jem Topcam, Lee Harrison, Adam Smith, Tom Setter, Alex Calder, and Charlie Penrose. I really hope you can all join us for a Meet the Speaker session at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'll be asking some of the questions you've asked throughout the day that some of our presenters have not managed to answer. So please do ask anything in the Q&A, and we're going to do our best to address all of those at the end of the day. So finally, I hope you all really enjoy the day enormously and get plenty of inspiration. And I'll be jumping on the next session to talk about managing critical relationships. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of you there.